Hi, this is Zak Mir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zaks Traders Cafe for Thursday, the 29th of June. Starting with the FTSE 100, which is between, well, I suppose it's between that support line there from the end of March. But that's heading towards 73.80 and the 200-day line at 75.50. Wanting to see an end-of-day close outside those two parameters. We did have a slight bounce as the RSI got towards oversold 30 earlier in the week, but we seem to have stalled, so really want to see an end-of-day close above a rising 200-day line and then head up towards 76.30, which is that April resistance line, but obviously not that much to say at the moment. Moving along to the DAX, and here we've got a situation where better version of the FTSE, rising trend channel there from September, October, trading either side of the 50-day line, which is encouraging and does suggest that we have seen the lows here. We were fearing that we might have to have a test of 15,600, 15,700. Managed to put in a higher low versus the end of May, which is encouraging, but still waiting for the RSI to get back above neutral 50 versus 48 at the moment, and a definitive pushback above the 50-day line. And at the moment, we're sort of dancing either side of that. But we did get up yesterday, and so over the last week or so, we have an island reversal, which is a positive setup. So not too far away from a break back above 16,000 and then a retest maybe of 2-month resistance towards 16,400. On to the Dow, which keeps dancing with the 34,000 level. We've had obviously a couple of attempts to break through that April 2022 resistance line. That's come in as new resistance over the course of the early part of this week. So really between the 50-day line, 33,600 and 34,000. RSI on the right side of 50, which is encouraging and does suggest that we should resolve to the upside and perhaps a move towards the March resistance line projection there at 34,900 by the end of next month. Moving along to Bitcoin, where we're sitting on the edge of our seats to see whether there will be a new leg to the upside. Nice bull flag here. Support generally coming in at or above 30,000, which is encouraging. The previous May resistance around 28,200 should hopefully become support if there is any dip. Worst case scenario at the moment would be a test of the 50-day line, currently rising along with the 200-day moving average at 27,400. The upside, if we win and get through 31,000 resistance, is up to as high as 35,000 by the end of next month. At the moment, you'd have to say that bull flag looks pretty good. Obviously, it can just fail and come back like that. But at the moment, 8 out of 10, I would say, in terms of looking like a decent mid-move consolidation ahead of a move to the upside. On to the stocks, and not too many big features, but quite proud of the next one, Amte Power, where we were looking for an end-of-day close above 6.25 to lead us to 6.5 rather, to lead us to a potential move up to 10 pence and maybe the low teens. So far, we've got up to 9.5, well, 9.75 actually. So I think that is the charting working there, and hopefully resistance on the way down up at 13.5. That could be the best case scenario here, while we hold above the 6.5 pence zone on that particular stock. But obviously this is a falling knife and not for widows and orphans. On to Belluscura, which was highlighted as a potential turnaround situation. I think the company had an update to date. The reason for including it as a potential revival was the unfilled gap to the upside that we had on the 21st of June. We've now finessed that with a break through the 50-day line and the April resistance line there around 32 pence, above 32. Looking for as much as 50 pence by the end of next month, which would be quite a result. We started off with bullish divergence, and then we had that unfilled gap to the upside near the lows, which tends to be a decent signal, and has been in this case. Stock which is also trying to regroup at the moment is Cloudbreak Discovery. Situation here where we broke a trend line from earlier in the year. That was around 0.45. We've broken above the 50-day moving average at 0.51 and looking for an initial target here towards 0.73 at that April resistance line projection. The next stage higher, if you're a fan of the shares and looking for greater glories, would be up to 1.15 pence, but let's just go for the 0.7-ish area first. Backed by bullish divergence, so lower lows for June, but higher RSI, and so that is kicking in quite well for the stock. Bigger stock of the day is De La Rue, which looks as though it's making an attempt to stage a decent recovery. We had the old low there back in April, around 33 pence, and recovering that earlier in the week, basically on the 27th, has led to a break of the 50-day moving average. Initial target here up to 47 pence at the top of that broadening triangle from April, and then maybe on a 2 to 3 month view, and if the bulls get very lucky view, then it's up to 65 or 66 pence at March resistance line projection and the 200-day line. Upside valid while we hold above recent neckline resistance at 35. So above 35, looking for 47 or 48, and then higher than that. On to Falanx, which had a decent update today. In fact, I should say pretty good update, but pretty good RNS. And here we've got a situation, if I can get the chart out, where the shares have been able to gap higher. So that just gives us maybe the first indication that this is going to be a lasting turnaround. Sort of the gaps tend to mean gaps up, tend to mean that the bulls have been caught out. And so we would be looking for the 50-day line and resistance on the way down at 30 pence as a target here, while we hold above the floor of that gap at 20 pence. Again, a bit of a falling knife, but some people might be interested in that. On to Golden Metal Resources, which is interesting at the moment because it's just breaking the initial range. The initial high here was 8 3/4, the low 6.6 pence, and so we're looking probably now for, while we hold above 8 3/4, looking for a target maybe 2 to 3 pence of upsides, up to 12 pence maybe by the end of next month. It will be nice to see if the 50 and 200-day lines start rising. The 50-day line already rising, that's pushing the shares up. Unfilled gap to the upside, both at the beginning of the month and last week, so that's encouraging too. So let's just see, as I said, if the shares can deliver on an early move in their stock market life. On to Genflow, which has bounced off former resistance, neckline resistance around 2 1/4 pence. Above that, we're looking for a retest of the early June resistance towards 4 pence, hopefully by the end of next month. If you're cautious, you wait for an end-of-day close for the shares above that 200-day line, the grey line there, around 2.53 pence. Just a few more to go in a shortened session here. First is Ondo, which had decent news from down under. Here we're just trading either side of our initial target here at 20 pence. The longer we can consolidate in this area, the greater the chance of a move up to the upper 20s, which was the target after 28 pence, after 20 pence. And obviously so far we've got up to 25.2. And ideally there's now no break back below the 50-day line at 17 pence ahead of a move to the upper 20s. One of the shockers of the recent past has been Premier African. Horrible price action. I suppose the warning there was the failure at the 50-day line, or the double failure at the 50-day line earlier in the month, but I don't think that would have prepared anyone really for the gap to the downside. You would have thought that support would either come in at around the 0.68 level or the 200-day moving average at 0.62, but that's all been blown out of the water. The interest now, I suppose, is the way that even though we've gone much lower for the end of June, the RSI is the same as it was when we were back up at 0.7, etc., etc. So a bit of bullish divergence coming in here, and that could allow the shares as a dead cat bounce to head back into the low 40s. So for people who may have been caught out there, that is the area to look at resistance on the way down in the low 40s for Premier African. Finishing off with a stock which seems to be quite Teflon at the moment, despite all the fundraisers. Here we've got Predator, which has left a gap, a sort of island top gap, but we are so far finding support around the 11 pence area, which was the initial target. The longer we stay above 10 pence, let's say, we've still got a chance of a move towards 15 by the end of next month. And the other point to note here is that shares have just delivered a golden cross today, so the 50 and 200-day moving averages both rising, and that can be a continuation signal in such situations. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.